Hi, I'm James Ramsey, Group Product Manager here at GitLab, and this is the Source Code Group 12.10 kickoff call. I've got quite a few items I'd like to share with you that we're planning to work on over the next release. Some really wonderful improvements to merge requests and yeah, without further ado, let me jump in. So the first item is to do with the diffs that are displayed in merge requests. I think I've covered this in previous kickoff calls, but essentially there is a situation where the merge request diff can display misleading information if you've merged the master branch back into your feature branch and then intend to merge your feature branch into master at a later date. You'll end up with a confusing set of changes due to the way Git calculates the diff. So we're working on an improvement called merge refs, and we've built a bunch of changes around this, and we're working on commenting on this new form of diff, and also on completing some back-end work in order to enable this feature. There were some structural changes required to calculate this new diff, and so we're still working out the finer details of that exact that part. The asynchronous mergeability check is the specific area that's blocking enabling the earlier proof of concepts that we've built. So this is a really exciting improvement. We're working hard to make this available in some form as soon as possible, and we hope to start testing this on GitLab.com over the coming weeks as well, with comments disabled, but we'll be adding comments which are important for more broader adoption of this feature. Without the ability to comment on a diff, the value of it is greatly diminished. So we're really keen to get commenting turned on so that we can really get this new diff mode in front of customers and they can tell us what they think. The next improvements relate to code intelligence. So 2 releases ago, we worked on building a proof of concept of native code intelligence inside of GitLab. And let me show you what it looks like. You can see this on gitlab.com for a couple of commits here and there where we've started testing it. And when it's available, you just open the repository browser and it'll start showing code intelligence data. And this is really, really useful. You can jump to definition and it'll pop you over to the correct line. It's still early days. That probably should have just reloaded, jumped to a different section on the file without loading the page. So you can see this is still early days. But what we're really keen to do is get this code intelligence into the merge request, because really when you're reviewing code that someone else has written, having code intelligence is really valuable, because then you can quickly understand how everything's linked together. And when you're reviewing someone else's code, you won't necessarily have the same familiarity with the work they've done and how it all links together. So we think it's actually much more valuable to have this feature in the merge request interface than in the repository browser. But the repository browser was an easier place to start with the POC. So we're continuing to expand the work we've done here. But this still is, I guess, a proof of concept. Even though we're expanding the interface support more broadly through GitLab, there are some challenges with making this work by default for every project on GitLab, on gitlab.com and self-hosted. And that's one of the things that we're continuing to look at, which is working out our data storage model. So we've been doing some investigation in 12.9 and we'll be continuing to that into 12.10. Igor's been doing some great work digging into this. But essentially, the progress we've made so far is to work out that we could end up with a table in the Postgres database that's 10 terabytes full of code intelligence. So we're not sure if that's the best idea or if there's other ways of storing this data and presenting it to users that won't be such a headache for database maintainers and our self-hosted customers that might end up with massive databases. So that's really the major hurdle that's preventing us from sharing this more broadly and making this feature work for everyone. How can we store this much data and make it queryable to show in the interface? So that's exciting progress on code intelligence. We look forward to a release sometime very soon, where we'll be able to enable that by default for everyone. The other feature, which I'm excited about, and I know lots of other people are excited about, is multi-line comments. But this is the first minimal viable change to start building multi-line comments. So we've been thinking about this for a while, doing a bunch of UX research into how the interface might work, what kind of behaviors people expect, how can we consider accessibility, depending on mouse drag operations versus keyboard, how we can make it work well for everyone. But in the meantime, we want to start building the first minimal iteration that we can learn from. And the first version that we think we can ship in 12.10 is a very basic version where you click on a line and then you expand the range upwards, either by typing an integer in the box saying like, this is the line I'm commenting on and the 10 lines previous or the 3 lines previous. We'll get to build the back end, solve a bunch of problems there, and we'll get to start building the front end, have a working version where you can leave a multi-line comment if you really, really want to. But importantly, we can start solving all the challenges, like what happens about multi-line comments that go over changed and unchanged lines, because in GitLab, you can comment on any line in a file. What happens if someone tries to comment over a really long range? What are the behaviors that we need to consider there? So we'll be working on a bunch of those challenges without building a really great looking drag and drop interface that I guess is what most people are expecting and hoping for, and that's what we intend to build in the future. But we're starting with this minimum iteration where we'll get the basics of multi-line comments built. And we hope to follow up in 13.0 with some significant improvements to the interface. But we're just taking it step by step, and we'll listen to feedback. Yeah, we're committed to bringing this feature out in a version of GitLab coming very soon. So these, I guess, are the 3 major areas that we're improving on the source code group in the 12.10 release. I think they're going to be really beneficial. Multi-line comments, so exciting, but also code intelligence. I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm hoping that we can solve a lot of the hard problems about how we make it work for everyone by default so that everyone has code intelligence that just works. And merge ref diffs is going to be a great improvement for customers that practice merging workflows that result in sometimes confusing diffs. So that's it from source code, and we'll see you next month on the 13.0 kickoff. Exciting release coming up for that too. Bye.